Hello everyone and welcome back to Hearts of Iron with me, Firefly Gaming. If you do enjoy the content, please do leave a like, maybe subscribe, maybe even comment. It helps out the channel quite a bit as we are very new. But without further ado, let's get back into our United States historical playthrough on the Black Ice historical mod. In the last episode, we saw ourselves kind of getting us ready, getting us set up here. Like, for example, I put some troops into the Philippines, I explained some of the historical backgrounds behind things, and now we are continuing on and so forth. We did put our regular army and the Marine Corps into training, and we put some garrisons to work. It is still 1936, and we're just trying to get a grip on our research. Let's go ahead and go with consumer electronics? No, HQ communications. Now we do have the London Naval Treaty coming up. Oh man. That's some foreign policy there. There's quality control and construction done. But we have the second London Naval Conference coming up. Now, the London Naval Conference was put into place to prevent another world arms race, especially in the category of naval stuff. It was not a fun experience prior to the First World War. It saw Germany and Britain racing to kind of outdo each other almost. Let's get a light howitzer going there. And it pretty much just ended with them fighting the Battle of Jutland, pretty much. The Germans were trying to get a high seas fleet in being fleet. They were unable to do so, but they were able to fight them, but it scared everybody into not wanting to have any more of that go on. So let's rename this. Let's call this North America Command. Let's call this the Army First Army. Let's call this the First Marine Expeditionary Unit. And let's call this the National Guard. Alright, so the Second London Naval Treaty signed. Delegations from Britain, France, Italy, Japan, and the United States met in December of '35 to discuss a renewal of the First London Naval Treaty, which restricted the number and size of cruisers and submarines, as well as battleships. Negotiations turned quite heated over Italy's war in Ethiopia and Japan's desire to be seen as equal to the Britain and US. With negotiations now at an end, the signatory nations have agreed on limits to the size of battleships and aircraft carriers in hopes of preventing another ruinous arms race. Ha! That didn't exactly help. Extending tax breaks, yes please. And a small lobbying effort. We are trying to get that going. Now, last episode I kind of ignored the Air Force and the Navy, which certainly wasn't my intention, but I ended up doing it anyways. So here in Hawaii we have the 5th Composite Group, which are light bombers. That is fine. Let's try and get a gauge on where our other things are. Well, we do have some research done there. That was our naval research. Speaking of Navy, it is 1936. We're kind of okay in that department. Let's go ahead and get carrier search groups. There we go. Let's get time going again. So we have Hawaii, we have a sizable command in California, a sizable one in Louisiana, and one in Virginia. And apparently we have some light bombers in Panama. I think I'm okay with that for now. When we do get a little bit closer, I will be reorganizing it, probably completely. Let's take a look at our Navy. So we have fleets on the west coast, fleets on the east coast, and I'm assuming the Pacific Fleet in... oh, just a submarine squadron in Hawaii. And we do have the Asiatic Fleet stationed in the Philippines. That's good. We have a destroyer squadron and a submarine squadron in Panama. There's our Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Let's go with the Federal Housing Administration. Let's take a look at our recruitment and deployment. Excellent, they're almost completely supplied. Resistance to occupation in Panama. I'm not surprised. Exported aircraft. There we go. We have exported some aircraft, the Curtiss Hawk 3s, to China. Now, the Curtiss Hawks were very much a popular fighter among the Chinese Air Force, the P-40 Hawks. And honestly, I love the Warhawks. They are a lovely looking aircraft, and they were very much used by the Chinese in the Chinese and Japanese War and the Chinese Civil War. Let's go with a B-1B medium bomber. The Curtiss Warhawks were not the most maneuverable, they weren't the fastest, they weren't the best armed, but boy, were they reliable. And that propensity led them to be very popular among air squadrons, as well as being... oh, we have some light bombers here in the Philippines. Guatemala withdraws from the League of Nations. Interesting. The Warhawks were some of the planes that took on the Japanese when they did attack Pearl Harbor. They were exported to Britain, although Britain didn't really use a whole ton of them, as they did have a pretty decent aircraft industry, turning out mainly Hurricanes and some Spitfires. But China used them extensively. There was actually an American volunteer group of pilots in China that were called the Flying Tigers, and they utilized those Warhawks to great effect fighting the Chinese over the skies. Not the Chinese, goodness, no. Fighting for the Chinese against the Japanese. I was contemplating doing a Soviet Union playthrough. There's another Curtiss attack aircraft this time. Going in. Diplomatics effort. Let's hold off though. I want to kind of... uh-oh. Japan claims hegemony in the East. Yep, we know that you want to form that East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, my man. We know it. There's the Federal Housing Administration. He's our foreign minister. Gotcha. Okay, so maybe we do want to do some diplomatic efforts. National focus. Can we get anything else yet? We could get the quarantine speech. I think we're going to do the quarantine speech, and then we're going to go ahead and do a medium lobbying effort to kind of help that. Now, the quarantine speech, as it says, was given by Franklin Roosevelt in Chicago for calling for a national quarantine against the epidemic of world lawlessness by aggressive nations as an alternative to the political climate of American neutrality and non-intervention that was prevalent at the time. Pretty much the public. There's some more Curtisses. The American public did not want to be involved in another, quote, European war. And Franklin Roosevelt pretty much had to drag them kicking and screaming up until, there goes Nicaragua, up until the attack on Pearl Harbor. The United States still wasn't necessarily expecting war publicly. Obviously, Roosevelt and his cabinet and a good amount of the Congress, Joe Louis and Max Schmeling, KO's Louis. There's the quarantine speech done, so let's take a look at our support. We're still at about half. That's good. That's good. And what that's going to do is once the world tension starts to go up, we're going to be able to get the Two Ocean Navy Act. We're going to get the Air War Plans Division Selective Training Act, which is pretty much the draft. Consolidated Boeing B-29, B-24. We're going to go with Boeing because strategic bombing is going to be part of our strategy here because we are going for a historical playthrough. Nice. Let's get the Social Security Act. The Social Security Act has been very far-reaching, and it still exists today, although it is certainly faced with plenty of problems now. And if you're my age, then you may not even see it by the time you are eligible for Social Security. Hooray! But we won't comment on that now. We only comment on historical issues. Now, I did put some troops in Alaska, and the island chain here was actually invaded. There goes Honduras, out of the Central Americas. So, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, all exited the League of Nations. There's the Spanish Civil War. A civil war has erupted in Spain. Oh, here we go. Mandatory Palestine has been allowed to trade freely for too long. We can pressure one of our allies to reduce trade with them. I don't understand why we would embargo Mandatory Palestine since it's a British colony. So let's skip that. The right-wing nationalist faction has occupied much of Spain, including their overseas territories. And there is the Spanish Republic against the Spanish state. And perhaps we will see Catalonia breaking off to form their anarchist party. Although I think that's more Vanilla Hoy that does that. And I actually really enjoy the Spanish Civil War in that Vanilla HOI. Let's see here. It is 1936, and we are very far behind. Let's get the Dodge WC-56. Oh, there we are. Oh, there's that light artillery. Now we have the M1917. Yeah. Recruitment. Still waiting on some support equipment. There's the Social Security Act. And we're going to follow that bad boy up with the Farm Credit Administration, the FCA. Let's take a look at our decisions. Send volunteers to the Republicans, economic support, or industrial. We could send economic support. You know, I honestly couldn't tell you what the United States was doing for them at the time. But I feel like we should support the Republicans because the last thing we need is another fascist state in Europe. So we're going to go ahead and... Oh geez, that is some heavy bits of command power. Oh, okay, let's send volunteers. And let's send industrial support. That's fine. Election campaign. We're at about 48%. We could grant statehood. To our people. Let's extend the tax breaks again. Could grant statehood to Alaska or Hawaii. But we are going to have an election at some point. And that's in November of this year. So, 58 states. Alright, let's go ahead and do a campaign for election there. There we go. Oh, we got some research to do. This is our naval research. And let's go over to technologies. Let's get some magnetic mines. This is all purpose. Well, let's get some radios. Oh wait, it's 1936 still. How about over here? Oh yeah. Let's get construction. Or excavation rather. There's the games. We can recruit an operative. So we got a seducer. That's pretty good. Let's get Kate Loring. There we go. Alright, we are putting ourselves in a pretty okay position. There's the equipment and probably some training. Still resistance in Panama. Let's check on production here. So we are getting ahead on submachine guns. We are getting on a lot of things. These are gonna take until 1942. Oh man. 1940, 1941, 37, okay. 36, okay. Well, what can you do? Let's go ahead and go for the resettlement. Let's go with the Rural Electrification Administration. Let's pay farm subsidies. Subsidies were very helpful in buoying American farmers. Let's do diplomatic efforts. Can apparently exploit things. That's interesting. We're not going to do that. We aren't going to exploit them. There's the B-1B, the Douglas B-18. B-1B, B-18. Let's go ahead and let's grant statehood to Alaska. Alright, I believe that's our aircraft. Let's get the PBY flying boat. PBY Catalina. Decisions available. Oof. Man, we are low on stability. Argentina. Alright. Let's get the TVA. Let's get the Resettlement Administration. I want to get the Spectre of the Great Depression and Pittsburgh Flood will be removed in 37. I want to get the Spectre of the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl off of our backs, and I think this is probably going to be the best way to do it. Where did I hire those guys to be? Oh yeah, we're on counter intel. Cointel. Yep. There is the Old Hickory Division. Let's add them to the 1st Army there. Get them training. There's the Marines. Alright, so let's take a look at our fleets, because right now they're a mess. And we do have some dockyards, so let's build a new ship. Well, let's build a Benham class. Because why not? And that'll be done in 38. Awesome. But let's combine some of our fleets here, because I don't really know how we would not get them all together. Let's get them down to San Diego, where we have some big old fleets. I believe that's where our guys are gonna be. Let's get... Let's get electric motor hoist. There's a resettlement administration. Good, good. Let's take a look. Can we get anything over on the right-hand side? No. But let's keep focusing on rebuilding the economy. Soil Conservation Service. Go, go. Alright, there we are. What do we have in Hawaii? We have a submarine squadron. Let's go ahead and bring those over to San Diego again, just to consolidate. Let's get these guys. Let's put them up in Norfolk. We're going to take all our fleets on the Atlantic coast, and we are going to move them down to Norfolk. There we go. And we're going to be splitting these theaters into the Atlantic and the Pacific theater pretty quick. I'm actually pretty sure we don't have any battleships on this seaboard. Interesting. Here's the Asiatic Squadron. Can they make it to our boys here in San Diego? Yes, they can. Especially if we combine them and then move them. So I believe that's all of our fleets. We're going to combine them and then divide them and do what we need to do there. Alright, we do have a little bit more of this stuff. Let's check this, though, and see what we can get. We need like 150 for that kind of stuff, so that does make sense. I would like to get some theorists going, so we're going to go ahead and leave that off for a minute. Low standards. Medium standards. Hmm. Well, let's go ahead and go to medium standards of training. Gotcha, it does take some time to reorganize. I don't know if I want to go to... I think we will go for as high of standards as we can, just because, hey, we can. So let's go ahead and wait here for all of our fleets to gather in their assigned places. More to Argentina. There's the submarine squadron heading up from down south in Panama. There is a submarine squadron from Hawaii. We don't have anything up in Alaska, right? The Asiatic squadron has moved out. There they are. Passing by Wake Island here. Arms deal. Where? What? Let's sell, I suppose. Extend the tax breaks. Well, let's grant statehood to Hawaii. Alright. Let's wait for the Asiatic squadron to get there. I believe that's all of our Atlantic fleets. The elections of 1936. Yeah, no, we're gonna go with Franklin Roosevelt again. Let's combine these fleets for right now. There we are. So we have a whole bunch of destroyers, a whole bunch of destroyers, and a whole bunch of submarines. Ooh, wow. So, yep, this is the Atlantic Fleet. We're going to hold off on that for now. Let's go ahead and combine these ones. Let's go ahead and take the fleets here and merge them. Plenty of destroyers and our battleships. You know, surprisingly, I'm okay with that because we do know that a majority of the fighting that's going to happen there is, well, it's going to be against Japan. Whereas the fighting in the Atlantic is mainly going to be against Germany and their U-boats, so that's pretty okay. Alright, we look like we have gotten a couple. There's the Chinese Soviets. Let's go ahead and add another couple of dockyards there. Alrighty, well, we are going to pause it there, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.